What's up, guys? Dude, my name's Aris. My name's Aris Hyung Yoon. I am actually right now I'm a student and currently what do you call it? Living in New York right now. I'm in Manhattan in some park right now. Basically lost and stuff like that. So it's kind of weird. And then I have to make a decision whether or not I should have came out for some auditions and stuff like that, which they require around where I am. It takes like time. If you look at like the rest, like there are no such thing as colors and stuff like that, which are commonly outcasted, and night is like my function that I actually worship in a way. So it has nothing to do with any of that stuff. These days, when I come out, I hang out. Like, I used to come out and I'd be very weird. I take 10 minutes of weed, and then I chill at the park or something. Usually, like the things that I want, like an average Korean person would do, I usually do it. Like right now, basically, the triumph between either being a person that I have to be or someone else that I have to acquire taste and learning a lot of movies. So positively speaking, I have to open to the choices of various different people in a way too. Sometimes I have to kind of say that I step forward in certain things which concretely don't really matter in a way. And then I could be like, yo man, I did the right thing, but it will never really be the person that I am, or being Twitter, and then following up on certain stuff that I have acquired through like taste of either like walking around or actually perform like right on the road that I am right now. Basically like either walking around or doing things like that and there are like pathways to like righteous way to get to places that you want to as a human type of things. And like it's kind of weird to say it, but it's given a choice and a momentum. So more and more choices are that either I come out and do the representation on an end, or I could be the person who responds and say that it was kind of like a follower from either being in love with sugar and like growing up as a Kool-Aid generation under any circumstances and evidence, and then like being able to write about like things from the past, the things that grew around everything in a possession as a individual. They ask either the free will or choices of being outright or versus just outcast of being someone that you can't necessarily become, and then say that it was made by myself or filmed by someone else, but no intention by saying means of like necessary out loud. And there are portions of being intrigated, like meaning like whether or not I could bend the knee and then like walk around, or there's like instances of like different like colors things, and then it kind of runs and then it stops, and then you can't necessarily do it, or you get a private note of invitation without a cause, which means that like a person is either a risk taking or a gambit, or someone else don't really recognize the whole difference between a real character and a difference, which I'm kind of concretely lost with assimilation with like surroundings and stuff like that, which kind of don't hither, but it comes down to whether or not I told the truth without really being lost or found. You know what I mean? It co-independently, and then maybe writing about something, and have I in a way have I caused some type of emotion with reality that never clashed or anything like that. I wouldn't have gone that far. And these days, you know what I'm saying, like, you come out more either for the being inside where we all hibernate, we all live at, and then people do deeds and shit like that, or you come outside and then you run on the matters of world that becomes a free granite. So choices are like everything is already made, even in a minuscule way, in a higher way, in a dark way, or it could be somewhat of a tragedy in a way to say type of things. So sometimes necessarily like the sun bearing or the state of the moon type of things and stuff like that has nothing to do with our type of generation, and I'm kind of greatly thankful in a way too. But when you compromise with ideas that are not tragically yours and mine, in a way, the influence are co-bearing, and you have to express it in a very, very most wondrous way. But it's impossible to grasp an idea without creating your own. So meaning that I live in a life without actual self-creation, without a background, without a choice. You know what I mean? And ultimately without like anything that I have presented to say that I have witnessed something really, really good, or I could have gave a guy a better stance, and then maybe could have done the better hurdle within like the circles of life type of reason, which codependently becomes the one that actually destroyed like the upscale life of human like resistance type of thing. Or I could say I am like a sacrificial person, like, you know what I mean? Like holding either a descriptive meaning of human essay, state of mind, versus like a critic world, which means that anything I embattled, or versus like the old style feng shui, and maybe somehow without really lying to yourself and without really like saying the vice versa with inner correlative reasoning, or per se a reasonable like feeling that there is such thing as a lawless world, I would pretty much said and done that I have watched everything, and like I came out few things, and then I have my own like ways of talking and stuff like that, which people correlate could say that, well, similarities are people get influences from like justice areas, and when you find something else in return, they tell you to go to either the hibernating world with the Dalai Lamas are gonna come out and they're gonna do something, or you're gonna have the real like the secret stuff, like, you know, the things that happen at night, but you can't really say it out loud because the artwork proves that you can't really do stuff, or self ideology of wishbones and something, which kind of could drive a man insane in a paradoxical way. But alternation is like a creative impulse that makes like fundamental simple reasoning to believe that there are something as me in like by myself doing stuff, versus like either doing something in return, which means that I did something justice, or I have not, in a way, became a prudent to the person and told that I have became someone else, like, you know what I mean, the scenes and things that are given to me, and then I could actually express my ways, and then different things that I have, and then play either away from it or play something else that I know for a fact I didn't do anything bad or unjust, but having fun that I could actually express of nothingness. Meaning no one really can read, or truly I can't believe a person that's gonna really retaliate by becoming a grip of styles and then destroying, dissecting, like, you know, anything you want in life. Meaning given a chance to embalmify it, and then there are other chances in life that could happen to you, to other things. Everything are created not bombing equal, but a state of you know, indifference in a way that not creation was. You know, everything is born here, so meaning that these bitches are hoes already made out, so no one really cares. You know, like when things die. You know, the state has to be something, either they're doing stuff like that in question, or saying that maybe I have injustice way of shouting out different things, and then all these things things like that, and then sometimes I could have done it like more retaliative, more return, and then come out to say that I have like done it, or how I support it on behalf of who you are and what they're really trying to do. But at the same time, given a reason and reason unfold, you recognize the past rejects. You know, the people that left because of school, because of like how much of fucking shit that happened, because of what you hear and shit, which is all an alternate world, false statement, and like really don't really care and matter. And then you come out, and then you could invoice a life of free thoughts forever and ever, like a free energy around me, you know, but not really clearly stating like the real path to knowing how the free energy has conversed into our lives. The people will not even quietly ponder or understand in the long run what type of the meaning exercises and you know, quivering like muscle diseases that do come out of painful ways. So there are unjustified reasons to believe, but sometimes freedom do grant from a white person perspective and a linguistic side of it, which means more of a following group, rather than a choice that you find yourself when you don't really want to do the DDT or things. You want to take them to the thing and then do this art simulation as it is, but not really clearly stating like the cause of what it is and things like that. You would rather discuss the brilliant path of either their ideals and then being traumatized and then come out forth, or you could just tell that, you know, real meaning of real life and real things that happen to you versus like the things that are granted. I mean, naturally speaking, there's no really exception that I came out of anything like that. So, meaning there is a justice between a self and a other self, and you have to agree with it no matter what. And that's like the most tragic thing to have for a freestyle writers, and especially for a person that knows about like ongoing things that happen around the world or something, and then come out and tell me that I haven't given a choice to really apartheid with them, but in the long run, not really my fan, because I am who I am in a state like that. So you grant it wise, and you know for a fact that like no one really cares. And when you take the damage, you know there is no exception of damages anywhere included. So you don't really necessarily have to think about, there are no such thing as damages, you know? There are. Consequently, every human being goes through a damage. And it's really funny. There's no life without a scar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's humans. Everybody's the same. Like, you know? And so singularity means, like, all that shit really dies out. And then everybody goes back to who they are. And then, you know, you make a more mistake by embalmifying experience versus, like, the years of traumatizing things that's going to happen to you. An escape way, an attractive way. But in a square way and things like that, I have tried. But I never done it outside, you know what I'm saying? But I have actually exercised for a short time, which means that I haven't grown out of it. But at the same time, I have the same perception that I am back into it, but more of like, yo, bro, like it's not like I ever left any of these scenes, you know. And then like, you know, the more of the things that the thing, and you know, it concludes to a lot of things and things like that. But I beg to differ, because as the time goes on, as the time not becomes a man, and you tell yourself how much of conclusion you have respected in a way, but everything that do come in like with like in knowing, like state of knowing, shares versus like a electrified or reasoning, I would say that the man behind the procreation and the man behind anything else to recorrelate experience of all translative world versus like anthology of not really a prescribed chemical world and things like that. They ask the reason of suffocation, where it comes from. People could die off of it. You don't really want to necessarily agree with it, and you're going to tell the truth. So you say every day, whether I come out for the wood shit, or I go out driving on a playing field for no reason, or state that 110 proof is what is at, or say that I came all the way from that point to here without really changing within anywhere. And on top of that, it really comes down to whether or not I am infatuated in a state like that too. But sometimes you have to put in a mind and say that you no longer want to be part of anything like that. And the more respect that I have, I mean, game wise, I have actually exercised my demon and tried something else and different, but in a way that really didn't come out the way you want it to come out. But cliche and things like that do exist, you would rather pick a choice, and I would rather not become like a hemified person or homotopes, meaning that I classifications or my fucking classifications no longer indeed in a precision matter of species and shit, like the self-announce and shit like that. Meaning I can't really say that I could go in there and be like a woodman and start writing like the wood shit, because it just don't exist in my realm, you know? And then they ask a correlation, well, what comes out these, and what do you have insight that you haven't really produced, and then what comes out is not something I correlate, because to me, mindlessness is a speak and a freedom is a gain. So meaning, anywhere in sight, street men, I mean, I am the first person to actually said it out loud in school. I was like, I'm really straight, and I don't feel like I should be involved with anything else, and that I want to be something else. And then, you know, sometimes I do the following. There's really not exceptions of really like escapade escapes, which I never done. You know, truly, they always say, oh, you know, you escape from the neighborhood. They start convicting you by the, like, you know, bus stops and shit. And the more reason that I go in is, like, the self-delusion that I have acquired through, like, taste of embalmings and things of what it is over here versus the things that are not really there from my past too, which comes into play too. But surrounding causes something else. My state is my state, and then you go on from things, but not really menstruating the forces that I have practiced with a being in a long run, which don't really say that to prove that there is no such thing, and then there's no such thing as anything else in return. So the state don't really mind anything, a greater deed of either artistic motivation behind someone else's work that's not really you, and then you try to act like it, or you just don't want to be in it. Like it's like a huge rule, like in a thing. So you try to do it, but every time I come out in the state, and then this is the time I play like Super Nintendo or something. Other times you do this, enforceable ideas that are self-delusions. You think about others and and the pressured you to become, and then you forcefully come out to exercise, and everything that do follow up and carries on to something else respects the last meaning of consequence. Nothing really coming out. You really consequently don't want to go match to match, face to face right away because of rather speaking, but there are fascination of questions like, when I'm horny, I really fantasize, and you really want to do it, but it's hard to do it actually, and it's like it's something that I actually acquired and something I actually like by myself, and I think that it's very healthy to express something like that, and like anywhere impossible, and then you could put in a mindless grip when a man, from the past and something else, someone could give you the hint and teach you how to do it, and you could actually show them how to actually exercise and create like a barrier, and then maybe get tripped over for like older movie themes, and then like pop-ups, and like not really hungry to do something you want to do and you really want to do type of things, and then and then maybe you want to be the quarterback and blow out your shoulder for fucking trying to throw an arm, and all of a sudden you blow it out. You're like, yo, we can't do it no more, and you just don't want to do it. And you start lying about it. You can't technically, because red men don't really care. People that are redheaded are not gonna care. There's no such thing as a redheaded in my world. There's no such thing as a redheaded in my world. It's impossible. So you actually say you can and you don't want to, but it's human-wise, a detective, and then self-reasoning, and you want to predicate the belief of who you are in a way, and then avoid a lot of all of that junk shit, and then be reasonable person, and you could actually do anything you want with your body in the long run, but you just don't want to do it right away. Like everything is a freedom, so meaning no animals, and respect it, and then no set of difference between an animal and a human in the long run. Like you got a brain, you got a brain, you got a nose, you got a nose. You know what I'm saying? You got teeth, you got teeth. What the fuck is the difference, And then, you say you don't, but it's like a trick of a mind, because God actually pleases the temptation, whether or not he co-buried the witness before he did, or it's not really tragically involved, but you can't say you could, because of the state that is involved in it, so longevity-wise, it's so good for you. It has nothing to do with you, and then it's just good. I don't know how to explain it. Or you could take the chance of actually trying to escape out of the reality scene and then be who you want to be, and then tell the man that you actually did it, and tell the man that you don't want to give a blowjob or fuck a girl in the asshole or something and get in trouble for having gay sex or something like that. You don't want to do that. People could get in trouble. They could. They technically, because in the world I just came out of, there was two heads. Either the forehead that were not in solid mode, and a pudge one, which then correlates to the sun, and then barren and things like that. And the third one is always a mysterious. It always changes between 1 and 2, but sometimes it look like 3. And then we just come out, there's always a lineup and things like that. You have to follow and you have to know about it before any of it returns. And some of the stuff, and like in our world, you have to be healthy, man. It's impossible to be physically and healthy. You got to be healthy in order to make it. If you can't do it, you can't do it. And that's like the bottom line. Like, and the more you practice with yourself and giving ideas of a person being influenced over a matter, and then say that you really didn't do it, or you could say you have. And it's like for a gun. And no one's really unnecessary in their minds, and no one can tell the difference. Or you could actually become the person that you want to, and say that there were like a fire blast from like literally like you know what I mean, like a key, you know, like you just roll it, just the real energy, and then you know you carry on with the stand, and then you do it like most precise, but like really do it with a chi, you know what I'm saying? Like change a fire, or you do the Bruce Lee stand and do the fire on the abdomen, and someone could die with the telekinesis stuff. Attacks and everything else is like something you could, and you tragically can't involve yourself with like either losing an arm with the cybernetic stuff, or tragically get involved with a meltdown. But a lot of people don't do, like, as scenes from RoboCop when Murph died, and the guys came out with the gun, and then he just shot him when he was crippled in the corner and shit. They shot him with the thing, and then like he lost a leg and shit in front of a mattress, you know what I mean? They could have, the continuation went down to filming world, where they actually compromised with the real behind and historical things that are asshole, like, but not really saying that it's bad, you know, like, it's good because it's part of it too. And then, you know, like, and there are more and more, it just goes on, and the practice art, it's all in the family, nigga, you know what I mean? So you gotta show them respect in a way, and then you could exercise it, you can do it, you could become a man to travel, and there are skies, there are such things as skies, there are trees, there are such things as botany and stuff like that, it kind of do exist, and then like, you know, you can technically, you know, retrospect, try it, but in failure not, they're not gonna, I don't know why, it's always like either that, or no, you know, it's not gonna work for you. You know, I wish of like, I still think, like anything that has to do with the flatness and the heights, there are always like a feeling, like a sense, gone wrong, you know? And you gotta tell the truth. You can't be the man trying to hop that fence, because the man's already core written, and sometimes it's good to be like that. Or you could follow like the real route of either entertaining something else in return, and say that I didn't do some of the stuff out loud. Or say that, oh, you know, just be thankful to God. I mean, obviously, that's like the one thing that I haven't concretely, like, met in person in a way to really say the books were some of the choices that I thought. But poison, those are all nothing but poison, I believe, because of the perception that I have never been involved. Or group-wise, you know, coming out from, like, any photo, you would say. Especially coming out from, like, Kodak photos and like those photos that get developed in the film strips and stuff like that. You just get, I mean, it does not count as a means of more of an exercise, but mine's more outclash of things because it looks better. I mean, there's no such thing as that type of technology in certain worlds, and there's no such thing. There's a boundary between anything else and limitless. You know, not everybody thinks that they're sharing. There's no such thing, because you know what I mean. And then like choices are different. So I sometimes say I have to back away because of a black situation. But black people here, to be honest with you, no different than, like, you know what I mean? It's my first time I've been plagiarized a few years in like outcasts of different reality sites, especially from the point of like a self-return intellectual debate, or going down to a hinge of whether or not I'm going to find the right space before the person, or I've never been in a site with another man. So I would say I would pretty much said and done. Majority-wise, percentage-wise, Chinese people are greater, and then Japanese are the last. You know, and that's like the world I'm from. So I can't really say that, oh, you know, like things like that could happen, like some weird stuff. But loony is not from my world. You know what I mean? There's no such thing as loony in my world. You know, like there's the Adolf Hitler guy that always speaks, and there's like probably Cambodian Fang or something. The nigga that had genocide of 1.1 million human bodies. He killed 1.1 million bodies. You know? So like there's an automatic difference, or you could say that he respects the men, and the first man that really do it is a man that slumbers and becomes like the greatest being. You know what I'm saying? And you really can't say anything else different. And then sometimes you gotta respect the scenery. It's mad poor, man. It's just water. What look like ethanol, and it just pumps up some shit and water. They just want some liquid. So it's mad poor. The concept is mad poor, to be honest with you. In the long run, because it's not like what you think. It's not like, oh my God, you know what I mean? There's gonna be like a outclass of a pizza party delivery's gone wrong, or you could get a life sentence, or gain a life. and move on with your life. Be respectful somehow, in a way, and then you could do it. Or you could say that you can't necessarily, but here, ideas and intelligent-wise, you want to avoid it as much as possible because of the state of mind. That's the reason why sometimes you ask yourself, like, am I given a chance to be under the light or under anything else, And then, like, what makes me want to go home and jerk off on a napkin and then, like, throw it out? Or talk about jerking off, masturbation on books, or already there for you, you know what I'm saying? There are plots to anything in life. So you can't necessarily give out on a point and say that you gave up on life. It's just impossible, So you don't want to do that. You necessarily want to avoid it as much as possible and do the dip, which I went through the night in practice. I almost died. I could have died a few times actually, with knowing that there could be a looniness and a fire, and then not really expressing like in terms that like I had done more deeds for other people, which they want more in a way, because in a systematic system builder way, it's called serving. You would rather build it for people to enjoy it, like to have. You don't really build it for choices of like you know what I'm saying, like consequence action versus reactionary, and like question of like self-resistant, first embedded versus a baseball-matic stance of really respectful way, and then knowing about the greater return, why you could be stated in a brighter, limitless world. You would say that you would rather say no and then retire and then go home and just don't worry about it and give up the last 2 cents and then back to where it came from and then not worry about a thing. So you would do that and become a monster, man, not knows how to do the real home run, in front of live cam or behind the choices of where the person could go and how it could improvise. But it's all in self-delusional way. It's all in a magic in the long run, It's considered a magic, and you just got to do it, man. So that's what I am, and that's what I do, bro.